everybody, it's Andrea over at Sewspire.com. Today I am here to teach you how to make this great project tote. This is crafted from a thicker twill canvas for the exterior, some really pretty leather handles, and then I used a little bit of quilt weight cotton to create this accent panel, and underneath of that is a tiny bit of fusible flannel. So it's a great project. It comes together very quick. It's very useful. I think it would make a beautiful gift. I'm going to keep this one, and it's going to become my project bag that I use to move the projects I'm working on between the studio and my house, where I have another little sewing room. You can see how this fits. It's a wonderful size. It's fully lined on the inside. I did not include any pockets, but in the tutorial I give you verbal instructions if you'd like to add a pocket. I'm positive you can figure out how to do that. So shall we get started? Okay, so for this project you're going to need 4 pieces of canvas or twill fabric, which measure 18 inches wide by 18 inches tall. And to begin, you're going to notch a 2.5 inch by 2.5 inch square out of the left and right bottom of each piece. Okay, and you can discard those or save them for another project. I have all of mine here, and I think I'll hang on to them because you never know, they'd even be cute for buttons. And we are going to begin by putting the accent strip on the front of one of the exterior panels, and the accent is comprised of 7 3-inch by 3-inch squares of fabric, which I have pieced together to create one long 3-inch by 18-inch strip. And the way that you piece fabric is you position right sides together, and then using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, stitch down one side, and I'll show you how to do that. And then you will open that up and add your next piece so that the pretty sides are facing, and again you'll stitch all the way across, 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And you'll continue joining all 7 pieces of fabric together until you end up with one very long strip, which I have already completed. And you will also need one 18-inch by 3-inch strip of Pellon fusible fleece. So one side of this is very gritty, it has the adhesive on it, and the other side is super soft. So you'll take your joined fabric piece, which you will have pressed really nice with the iron, and you'll position that right on top of the gritty side with the pretty side of your fabric facing up, and then press that until the fabric adheres to the flannel, which I have already completed for this step. And then you're going to take whichever side. I have clouds here, so I don't want those upside down. So they're going to be positioned towards the top, and you want to come in 5 inches from the top and align that there. And then you can, if you have a mat, you can measure on that and make sure that your line is straight. So this left hand edge is 5 inches from the edge, and the portion that you notched out down here, that's always going to be the base of this bag. That's going to form the gusset and give the bag some depth. So you position this beautiful strip of fabric 5 inches from the left And I just want to put a couple pins in there to hold that. And then I want to top stitch down either edge, and I'm also going to use a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance for my top stitching. And I did reinforce with a back stitch at the beginning and the end. So I have the right hand side attached, and now I need to turn it around and attach the other side. Okay, and that's what it looks like from the back. So you can see my double stitching there. And then on the front I have this great squishy piece of quilted detail there, and if you wanted you could come along and quilt that as fancy as you like, or you can leave it just like this. And then these are raw edges here, so it's fun to let those fray naturally, and it's going to give this bag this kind of weathered, interesting look. Or if you don't want to wait for that to happen naturally, you can come along and just using your fingernail or the edge, like with a credit card, you can go ahead and fray those fabrics. That, you'll see, is kind of an addictive process once you start pulling on those, and is fun, but it really will change the look of this bag, and that's one of my favorite aspects of this bag. In fact, I'm going to show you the inspiration piece for this and how the edges have frayed over time. This is one of my favorite project bags, and you can see that I used some larger squares for this, but as that fabric begins to fray, it's just so pretty. So back to this piece here. Continue to fray it as much as you like, or just leave it up to time and it'll fray on its own. Take your second square, and the twill generally doesn't have a right or wrong side, but if yours does, go ahead and place the pretty sides together. Take time to line up those bottom squares, and then go ahead and put a pin in each corner. And then using the same 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, we're going to stitch down the right hand side, back stitching at the top and the bottom. Down the left hand side, same thing with the back stitch at the top and the bottom, and then across the base with a back stitch at the left and the right. For the time being, don't do anything with this portion here. Okay, I've stitched up all three sides. I just want to remove the pins, and then you can reach inside and you're going to align up the side seam with the base seam, and you should have a nice straight edge there, which you're going to stitch 3/8 with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance from side to side, reinforcing with the back stitch at the beginning and the end. And then repeat that process for the other corner. that looks like. So you have, the bag is inside out right now, but you can see how that created that depth at the base of the bag. So this is the exterior. You'll turn that around right sides out, and then go ahead and get rid of any extra threads that you find. And I love how that method aligns the seams so perfectly. Alright, so this is very pretty. The lighter bag that I showed you is my summer project tote. So I really wanted something that was a little darker to use through the fall and the winter, and this is going to be my new project tote. So this is the exterior and it is ready to go. I already fashioned the interior, which would be created in the exact same way. You would take the remaining two 18-inch squares, line those up so that the notches are at the bottom, sew down the sides across the base, and then fashion that base corner so that you have your depth. And that's what I've done. There are no pockets or any type of detail on the interior. It would be so easy to add a pocket if you wanted. You would do that on the panel when it is still flat before you attach the two. Just simply cut out a rectangle or a square in the size that you wanted your pocket. Position those right sides together. So you cut out two of the same size. Right sides together, stitch up three sides, flip it pretty side out, press it, and fold that top edge inward a bit, and then top stitch across that, attach the pocket on three sides, and there you go. Easy, easy. I have no use for a pocket in this tote. Okay, so the interior is wrong sides out, and then I took that top edge and I folded it down approximately an inch. And I want to do the same thing with my exterior. Take that top edge and fold it inward approximately an inch. At the portion where this detail is, because it's so thick, you will have to put a pin to hold that in place. But then if you just pick that up from the side seams, you should be able to crease that fabric with your hand and get it to stay put. You can iron it if you need, or pin it all the way around. So insert your interior into the exterior and begin aligning those side seams. And once you get those aligned and pretty, go ahead and pin them. And then align the other side. And now stretch that out. And it fits really good because I kept that consistent 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So put a pin in the center of each side. And then you can add one if you need in between. And you can really see the bag taking shape now. It's a great size. That's what it looks like on the bottom. Now for the handles, I am using some 1-inch strips of leather here. I had some remnants here in the studio. This is a pretty gray that matches really nice. And these strips are about a little more than 18 inches long. The leather has some stretch to it. If you don't have any extra leather around, you could use the 1-inch webbing as well. And I have a little bit of leather pre-cut. Oops. I have some pretty pink, a green, and a little bit of this gray left. And I will have those straps available for sale on Sewspire.com. And so you've got your strips there. And now you want to position these 4 inches at the 4-inch mark here, in between the exterior and the interior. You're going to pin that right there. And then 4 inches from the other side seam, and put a pin in that. And then you'll flip it over, and you can measure or you can use the existing strap. I prefer to measure just to make sure that I didn't make a mistake and that they're nice and even. And that's just going in between that exterior and interior. You want to make sure that the drop is about the same. I really like using the leather for the handles because, one, it's so soft, but then this other kind of suede-y side is great because it grips your shoulder, and then there's a little bit of give there with the leather and the stretch. It's obviously very durable, and then it adds another design element to the cotton and the twill. The leather just really makes this tote. So to finish up, all we have to do is what I call sew the top on. So remove your deck from your machine. I like to start at the side seam. You're just going to slide that right on there, and that's the same 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. You're going to remove your pins as you go. You're going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. Just go nice and slow, and you'll have a perfect top seam. I should note, when you get to the handles, you're definitely going to want to back stitch again. And then I'm even going to come on top of that because this is a project tote, and I'm going to do another layer of stitching just a little below that first row of stitching. Okay? Okay, so now I've gone all the way around once. I reinforced at every handle, and now I'm going to put this back on the machine just where the handles are. Bump that down 3/8 of an inch more and put one more row of stitching just at the handles. All right, so fun. Now I have to get rid of all these extra threads, and then I will be able to show you my beautiful new project tote. Remember, I love to see pictures of your projects. It makes me so happy to know that these tutorials are useful and that you're enjoying them. So if you would, please take the time to take a photo of your finished bag and then tag me on Instagram with hashtag Sewspire or @Sewspire. It really, you can't imagine how happy it makes me to see your projects out there. All right, I have this all trimmed up. I want to give you the finished measurements across the base. This is 12 inches. The depth is 5 inches, and the height on this is 14 inches, which is a very nice size tote. Then with the handles, I ended up with about a 7-inch drop, which is my preference because I don't like the bag to slip off of my shoulder. But then I also really like to carry that in hand as well, or on my elbow. So this is a good length for me. I hope that you enjoyed the project and you will share some pictures for me. I have a few reminders for you. I told you about the leather, so you can find that on Sewspire.com, and that hopefully will save you some money because you don't have to order a big piece of leather. This week I was able to add several bundles, nice size bundles. I had 13 in total. 2 have already sold. These are the Premier Prints fabrics, which I use in a lot of the Sewspire tutorials, and they're really generous size cuts. I don't have the time. In fact, I think I'd go mad if I had to measure each piece for you, so please, I beg you, don't ask me how big each piece measures, but you could tell that they're folded, and this is 6 inches across here, and it's a nice heavy stack of fabric. So if for any reason you weren't satisfied with your purchase, I would absolutely positively let you send that back and I'd refund your money. But I have a feeling, given that this fabric costs $12 a yard, that $12 for the bundle is a superior deal, and you will be very pleased. Anyways, there's only a limited quantity of these, so if you're interested in snatching one of them up, Sewspire.com under Premier Prints fabric bundles, and you'll find those beauties. And then I also wanted to remind you, if you were admiring this diaper bag that I was sewing here, this is my ultimate diaper bag. This one is for an order over at Watermelon Wishes that I'm working on, and it's not quite done yet. That's why the pins are in there. It will have a zipper top on it. I just forgot the zipper at home, and I'm gonna put that on tomorrow. And it comes with the Minky Dot changing pad. I created a free tutorial a couple episodes back for this changing pad with a diaper clutch, so you can get that right now on YouTube. If you go to Sewspire.com, I have a premium PDF digital tutorial that you can purchase for $12.95 that will tell you exactly how to make this diaper bag. And as with all my tutorials, if you ever have any questions at all, just send me an email. Catch up with me on Facebook or on Instagram. I will be more than happy to answer your questions. I have sold lots of these tutorials and gotten a lot of valuable feedback, a lot of valuable positive feedback. So I expect also that you'll be very pleased with your purchase there. If you would like to learn how to make this diaper bag, it's really fabulous. So I think that does it for this week. Oh, there was one more thing. I am resuming the weekly emails. It's going to be a little bit different content than I was putting out there before. So if you'd like to subscribe to my email list, you can do that on Sewspire.com, and then you'll receive my weekly sewing inspiration email in your inbox. I'm probably going to send that out on a regular day. I haven't settled on the day quite yet. This week I sent it out on Sunday. That might not be the best day for everybody, so I'll just kind of watch those metrics until we find the right day to send that out on. And I think that's it. I enjoyed spending this time with you, and as always, the creative genius in me salutes the creative genius in you. Have a great week, everybody. See you next week.